Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. If you can please let us know where you're tuning in from today in the comment section below. Where is everybody tuning in from? Hello, welcome. We've got Brenny tuning in from Mississauga. Got somebody from Ghana. Is anyone tuning in from somewhere else? We'll get started in a minute. We got someone tuning in from Moncton, New Brunswick. Welcome. Tell us where you're tuning in from. All right. We got someone from Lagos, Nigeria as well. Okay. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Good day to you. My name is Bester Godfrey, Canadian Immigration Specialist at Tofino Immigration Consulting. At Tofino Immigration, we help make Canada your new home. But we also understand that getting a visa to Canada is not enough to thrive in Canada. You need certain tools to help you succeed in a new country. So today we're going to talk about money sense in Canada. Now, I got a business degree from university, but I don't remember having any specific training on money sense, wealth education. Nobody really teaches you that. You have to get that information yourself. And I don't know a lot of people that got out of the university that were well equipped in this matter as well. So it's an important topic, and I understand that different cultures see money differently, see savings differently. But it's important to understand money, to have a good money sense in Canada when you get here, so you can thrive. Because if you're struggling financially, it's not going to really help you settle in properly in Canada. So today we have a special guest. We have Rennie the resource. She's very smart, and she's learned a lot over the years, and she's very passionate about sharing this information with us. So Rennie bought her first house at the age of 23. To be able to do that, of course, there's certain things that she learned along the way that made her to be able to achieve that goal. So I'm going to invite our guest so she can come share some of the tips with us that she learned along the way to help her buy a house at 23. So invite a friend, invite a neighbor, and I hope you have a good time. In the main tuning in from in the comment section below. Where is everybody tuning in from? You can comment in the section. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Good afternoon to you. You calling from Ontario? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. It's good to have you on the show.
Thanks for
So,
having
what's the weather like these days in Ontario for you guys?
me. It's a little bit rainy today, but last week was really nice. It
It's
was
nice.
hot enough to picnic, so yeah.
It's pretty good. Welcome. So, Rennie, I was on a YouTube channel, and we're talking about how you got a house at the age of 23. Not a lot of people can achieve this goal at 23. Not a lot of people boast about it, but you were able to get that done. So I thought that was pretty interesting to bring you on so you can share some of that knowledge with us so we can do better, because when we know better as immigrants, we can do better. And lots of immigrants that come to Canada have different money sense. And it is important to be on top of that, so that way we can start growing our wealth, having that generational wealth, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I thought I'll invite you on here today. So thank you for taking the time. So buying the first house was 23. How did you do it? Why did you do it? And where did you purchase this home?
So I purchased my home in London, Ontario. So it's a bit, people who don't know Ontario, it's not in the main Greater Toronto area, which is where most people live in Ontario, but it's about an hour and a half out.
Okay.
I purchased it last year, and well, I put the deposit down in 2019 and it closed in 2020. And the reason I bought it was to get another source of income coming in. So I live with my parents at home, and yeah, I live with my parents at home. I live rent free, thankfully. So I was like, I'm making more money than I've ever made before through my full-time job. So I might as well put this money into something. And I've been investing, thankfully, thanks to my dad, since I was 18. So because I've been investing, my money's been growing. Instead of just letting it sit there, we thought it would make more sense to put it in a property that can create another source of income for me. So yeah,
Right.
that's the reason why I bought it.
That's awesome. So my other question for you is, I'll start by, I have lots of questions for you, but we'll start by, what is the difference between saving and investing?
Mm-hmm. So saving is, I would say it's like putting money away for a rainy day, and you put it in an account and it grows maybe 1% or 2% a year. At the major banks in Canada, they actually, your money's only going to grow 0.05% a year, which, as you know, obviously is not any, it's pretty much nothing. Inflation is more than that. So money's actually losing value when you leave it in a savings account. Versus investing is putting your money in an account or some type of vehicle, and it's going to grow exponentially by putting it in that vehicle. There are lots of ways to invest, but yeah, those are the sorry, I'm reading the comments. Those are the two differences between saving and investing.
Okay. So when you save, you have the potential to be losing money due to your depreciation, or it not just making as much, but investing, you could grow a little higher than the regular fixed deposit savings would do for you.
Exactly.
And so you can find people that make the same amount of money, and they end up having different savings at the end of the year or at the end of the season that they were doing this. I was reading an article not too long ago, and I saw how culture could also affect how much you save. So cultures from Asia, for example, from South Korea or China or Singapore, they have a different kind of culture that teaches them to be a little more money wise, I guess, be a little more frugal and be able to save more compared to, and this is from the article, and compared to people living in America, for example, like say Black Americans, and they don't end up saving as much. And I understand there's a history there as well with slavery and all that stuff. But culture could also affect how much people save. So tell us, is there like a magic formula? How much of our income should we save? We'll start there. And then we'll get into how much of this should we spend, how much of this should we invest.
Yeah, I think it's hard to give a excuse me. I think it's hard to give an actual number because it all depends on your living situation. So, for example, I live with my parents, so I don't have a huge rental expense or cost of a mortgage or rents that I'm paying at this home. So I can afford to invest 50% of my income every month. But if you have obviously if you have a mortgage or something, you probably won't be able to invest that much. So I think it really depends. I think there's a 50, 30, 20 is the what's it called? The standard that they use for budgeting. So 50% is for your needs, 30% is for your wants, and then 20% goes into investing. But I think, as I said, it's a guideline. You have to do what works best for you, and yeah. But yeah, it definitely is. It's an individual thing.
Okay, but is it like a minimum people should be looking at saving in terms of percentage in general?
Yeah, I always suggest at least 10% of each payment each amount of income that comes into your account should be a savings account or investing ideally. But again, depends on your situation.
Right, right. So there is this. We'll get into this mindset thing because wealth and money is different for this. People perceive this stuff differently. So obviously, people that are saving this amount of money you're talking about, they probably see savings differently compared to people who don't. or it could be a necessity and people don't end up saving anything at all. But so, what is the wealth mindset in your opinion?
I think the wealth mindset is really it's about having an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. And I could go on and on about that. It'll take a long time, but I
Okay.
really think that you need to think of yourself as an asset, and you need to be paying yourself first. I think we'll probably talk about that later, but you need to be paying yourself first every single time instead of thinking of, oh, I have to pay my bills first, I have to pay this first, I have to pay this first. You have to see yourself as an asset, and something that also needs investment in, because a lot of times we don't invest in ourselves, and then if something happens and it's an emergency, we have nothing left. We're relying on debt or something to pay off bills. So I would say the mindset I would have is to pay yourself first and see yourself as a.
Okay. Pay yourself first is it's a great idea, except some people think, by the time I'm done paying my rent, by the time I'm done paying my car, by the time I go out maybe a few nights in a month or whatever, there's nothing left to save. So how does this work out in terms of the savings?
Yeah. So when I say pay yourself first, I do not mean don't pay your bills. I definitely think you should pay your bills. But I think you need to prioritize your saving or investing before or in addition to your, say, it's your car. No, let me give a better example. Say your entertainment. So say you're going to say, every month I'm going to spend $200 on entertainment, and you have that set budget for your entertainment. You should also have a set budget for yourself and putting it into your savings account and investing account. So there's like a zero based budget way of investing, of saving, sorry. And every month you take all that's coming into your account and you allocate it to a certain place. So every single dollar that comes into your account every month has a job, and that's what I've been doing. So say I make $5,000 a month, every single dollar has a place. So I'm gonna say $1,000 is going into my investing account. $1,000 is for my savings account. $500 is for my food. $500 is for this, and like every single dollar, as I said, has a plan and there's a job for each dollar. And yeah, that can really help you make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Obviously, your bills are paid, but you're taking care of yourself before.
Okay, that's good. So we talked about savings and investments and stuff like that. Some people consider investing, as soon as they hear investing, they think it's dangerous. They don't want to touch it because we don't really understand it as much, I guess. So it's a little challenging. I'd rather have the money under my pillow so I can see it than put it in something else that I don't know what's going to happen. The markets change all the time. How should people invest, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think people are right that with investments, there's always a risk. So your money can either go up or down anytime. Like investing is not 100% a guaranteed way of putting your money in. But I think it's more risky to have all your eggs in one basket. You're having only one source of income and all your money is in one place. Like I think that's even more risky than trying to invest in something. So how you invest safely is you do your research and you don't just follow the trends that people are talking about. So I know everyone's like when what's it called, GameStop going crazy, everyone was like, oh, invest in GameStop and put your money in GameStop, and a lot of people lost money because of that, because they're just following different trends. So I would say that if you are going to invest, do your research, learn from different people before, and don't just follow the trends that people are talking about on Twitter, because that's how you lose money. And yeah, that would be my main advice. The stock market is where I primarily invest, and I think the stock market is a good place to start for people because it's something that you can understand more easily, in my opinion, versus investing in the crypto market or forex. Like I think there are lots of ways of investing, but some may be safer than others. And I think the stock market's a good start for beginners.
Yeah, and I think years ago someone said, "Don't invest money you know willing to lose." Is that true?
I agree. Yeah, because yeah, as I said, investing money can go up or it can go down. So if you cannot afford to lose this $1,000, don't invest it. But honestly, I have a lot of money in the stock market, and I'm confident in the stock market because if you look at the overall trends in the market, it has gone up for the past however many 100 years. So you can see the trends, and you know that this is a stable place to put your money. But remember, there will always be ups and downs and ups and downs. So if you have $10,000 and you're like, okay, I can put this in the stock market, but then you need it within a year, maybe you shouldn't put all that money in the stock market, because you never know what the money could do. But as I said, overall, in the past 100 years, the stock market has gone up. So long term, it will go up.
Okay, so your strategy then is more of a long-term investment in like a Warren Buffett style, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So is it, I know you're not like a financial advisor, but I guess I have to ask you this because it's from your own personal experience. So is it better then for somebody who's starting out to maybe invest in a home, or should they be investing in the stock market?
I feel like your investments can pay for your home, which is what mine did. So I don't know. I guess it all depends on your living situation. Like if I needed a house 3 years ago, then I should start putting my money towards a house. But I think that your investments can't, if you have some time, maybe you're looking to buy a house in the next 3 years, maybe start investing in the stock market. That money can help pay for your, instead of waiting to like accumulate that down payment, which can take a very long time. Put your money in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we heard of people that they get this new formula for the first time about saving or investing or whatever, wherever they hear it from, and they immediately make life changes, which is nice, and they start saving, they start investing. But there's also a thing as being broke, investing everything. Like you don't really enjoy life, right? Because they just put everything away and they don't really have this extra money to just live. Somebody called it one time for when you buy a house as being house poor, because the system here is, of course, the mortgage system is a credit system. So you buy a house, you have to be paying mortgage monthly, and by the time you're done paying everything, you have nothing left. What do you have to say to those people that are a little too aggressive with the savings and the investing and don't have time to enjoy?
I would say, obviously it's a personal thing, but I would say budget time for, or not, like plan for your happiness and your joy in your budget. So if that's what makes you happy, sure. But I think you should live within your, when you say the house poor situation, I think everyone should try to live within their means. Buying a house right now, that's extremely expensive, just because you can afford the down payment, but then every month you're going to be struggling to meet the monthly mortgage payment. Personally, that doesn't appeal to me, because then I won't be enjoying life. I won't be able to go out, and I'll just be in my house all day and all week, right? So I would say live within your means. Just because you can afford the down payment does not mean you can afford the month. And you should always have multiple, if you are in that situation, try and get multiple streams of income, so that now, like maybe your house you can rent out the basement in your house, and then people can live there and help you pay the mortgage. Like there are always ways to make sure that whatever you've purchased, and is in that situation, it kind of sounds like bondage in my opinion, but turn it into something that's making more money for you, instead of just living within that.
It's pretty good. So lots of immigrants, lots of international students as well, when they immigrate here, they don't understand the system, the financial system. For example, credit. We live in a credit system in Canada. So I am from Nigeria originally, and when I was growing up there, the system was more cash and carry. If you didn't have the money, you don't buy it. If you have the money, you buy it. So it's cash and carry. Like for a car, for example, you just pay and you take the car home. But here, you can get a lot of things on credit. You want a car, as long as you have a job, or sometimes you don't even have a job. You get a car, you make bi-weekly payments. You get a house, you make payments. So about 10 years ago now, I think, I went to one of the big banks in Canada and I got a credit card, $1,000. And I went ahead and I spent it. And I didn't pay it back, right? I didn't understand the interest. It's a different system, you know. I didn't understand the interest. And then I would pay a little bit of interest, but all of a sudden it would just go right back to the original capital. And I'm like, it was $1,000, which is not a lot now, but at the time, it was quite significant, right? So that ended up wrecking my credit score, and it took me many years to build it. So if you could touch a little bit about what is the credit score, how does it work, and why people should be a little careful about that when it comes to your future.
Yeah. So I like to think of a credit score as your credit history or your report card of all your financial history in Canada. And someone said Canada has a nice way to make you broke forever. And
Yep.
if you do not understand the system, that I think that is very true. So your credit score is basically all your borrowing history that you had in Canada is reported onto this score. And whenever you go to borrow money from someone else, so say you go to get a mortgage, you get a car loan, even if you go to buy a cell phone that you're going to be using, they check your credit score and they see, can this person actually pay me back if I give this loan? So it is a very important thing. I think a lot of immigrants hear these horror stories about credit cards and tend to be scared to get a credit card. But the reality is you shouldn't be scared to get a credit card, but you may be scared. You should be scared if you're not going to use it right. So the most important thing is to use it correctly. There are so many things that make up what goes into your credit score, and I'll have a video about this coming out. But it basically shows what debts you currently have. So if I have on my credit score, I have my mortgage on my credit score. It also shows you how long you've been borrowing from people in the country. So the length of time. So I've had a credit card since I was 18. So for the past 5-6 years, I've had a credit card. So my history in Canada is 6 years long. What else does it show? It shows your credit worthiness, whether someone will lend to you or not, and it ranks you on a scale. I think it's from 0 to
800, 800 and something probably.
Yeah, exactly. So in that range, it'll tell you. So it's like very bad, do not lend to this person. Good, medium. It ranks you based on that. And then while you may not have a great credit score and you may still be able to get a loan, but the lower your credit score is, the higher the interest rate they're going to charge you, which is problematic, obviously. So you don't want to, instead of getting a mortgage for 2%, 2% interest, now they're charging you 3%, 4%, 5% because they don't trust that you'll be able to pay it off. So credit score is very, very, very important, and especially your credit card is the first way that most people get into using getting a credit score. So yeah, make sure that you know how to use it correctly.
Okay, so in my kind of demographic, in terms of age and people around this time, there's a lot of pressure to own a home, and it's like this trend, and this person just bought this property, and this person just bought this, and people can often get faked out based on that. So question to you is, in what situations should a person own a home versus renting a home?
I think it's also a very personal decision. I think the home ownership thing, I think everyone thinks it's such a glamorous thing. Oh, I need a home. I need, it's so glamorized in this part of the world, I think. But the reality is there are a lot of costs that come along with buying a home other than just that initial down payment. So I think if you're planning on staying in a home in the same location for maybe 3 years or more, then maybe you want to buy a home and purchase that home. But if you're someone who plans on moving from different places to different places and you don't want the cost of paying maintenance, there are so many things to consider. But I think if you're planning on staying somewhere for less than 3 years, then I think that you should just rent a place, in my opinion. As I said, I live with my parents, so I don't really have that experience. But I chose to purchase a home because I wanted to grow wealth and also make more income from renting out that property. So I think it depends on your situation.
Okay, so I'm getting back to this topic because it's important in terms of how much people make and how much they save. You can see people that make the same amount of money but save differently. How does that happen? Why is that? How come?
Yeah, I guess it's all based on your priorities and how much you are planning on putting away for yourself. As we said, the wealth mindset again, putting yourself first, paying yourself first. A lot of people don't have that mentality. There's actually a statistic that I think most high earners, so like doctors, for example, a lot of them are broke and have zero, like no net worth because they spend all the money that they make each year. So there could be someone who makes $200,000 a year, but then they spend $250,000 a year. So they have, but there are people who make $60,000 a year and they save 40,000 of that 60,000, and they're doing very well for themselves, and they're accumulating wealth each year. And they call those people everyday millionaires. There are lots of people who don't make that much. They make less than 100K each year, but they are millionaires simply because they have developed those saving habits and those patterns. So I think the reason that there is a difference, like two people can make the same amount and one person is rich, one person is poor, is simply because of their mindset and their approach to saving and investing.
Yeah, and sometimes too, you just gotta raise, you get more money, and your expenses increase as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you feel like now you can afford more, obviously, and then but the rate of the saving is still, you didn't change that. You just you're spending more money, of course.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about credit cards. I'm not sure if I'm gonna take that or not, but is it advisable to get multiple credit cards?
Yeah. So it depends on your situation. Once again, I personally have 2 credit cards, or actually 3 credit cards, but I don't use all 3 all the time. Once you do get a credit card, the good thing is that it starts accumulating your credit history, which I think is a great thing. But one thing I will say, that if you are going to get a loan right now, you're looking to get a loan for, say, your mortgage or a car or something, don't open a credit card right before you do that, because it shortens your credit history time. So I opened my first credit card when I was, as I said, 6 years ago. So if I were to, so say I only have that 1 credit card, my credit lending history is 6 years long right now. But then if I open a second one now, and they take the average of that, so my credit card history will be 3 years long. So then that affects your credit score in the long term. So I would say, if you're going to get a credit card, don't do it like right before you're trying to get a loan or something, because it shortens your credit history. But the good thing is that if you do open a credit card, obviously you get more. Your limit is higher, right? So say you have 1,000 on one card, and then your new card is going to give you another 1,000. That's $2,000 that across your credit cards. However, obviously make sure you pay them off every month, as Beth said. Like you don't want to accumulate any debt or any interest on them every single month. And then one more good thing I'll say is that to get the highest credit score, your credit utilization rate should be below 30%, which means that if you have a limit of $1,000, you should only be spending $333 on that $300 on that each month. So if you have credit cards now, then you have a higher amount that you can spend on your credit card each month while still accumulating your credit score.
So I know somebody many years ago, they took their credit card, right? And they cut it up, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, this thing is not good. Should we be afraid of credit cards, or how should we approach this very convenient but very dangerous tool?
Yes, you should not be afraid of credit cards. When you approach your credit card, think of it as a loan to yourself that you have to pay off within that 30 days. It is not free money. It is not extra money that you have. And my approach to my credit card is that I only spend what I have. So my credit card limit is, I think, $10,000 or something. So I have a high credit card limit. But if I do not have $10,000 in my bank account, I am not spending $10,000 on my credit card. There's no way. Because I know that by the end of the month, I won't be able to pay that off, and then I'll be accumulating interest on it. And for anyone who doesn't know, credit cards on average have an interest rate of 19.9%, and that is a killer interest rate. It compounds so quickly that like $1,000 can cost you thousands of dollars in the long run. So if you are going, as I said, if you're going to get a credit card, pay it off every single month. No interest. Don't carry any interest off in your credit card. And we also, just one thing else to say, if you are starting to invest your money and you have credit card debt, I would say stop investing, pay off your credit card debt first, and then start investing. Because credit card debt has, as I said, an interest rate of 19.99% versus your stock market. Maybe you'll get 10% or 8% a year. So it doesn't really make sense to put your money in the stock market when you have all that debt accumulated.
Okay. So we talked about the wealth mindsets and paying yourself first. So for people who are already in the situation where they've bitten more than they can chew with the credit card situation, and we talked about paying yourself first, 10%, whatever the percent is. Should we pay off that debt first before we pay ourselves? Should we pay ourselves while we're managing the damage?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do this?
So in this situation, I think getting out of debt is paying yourself in this situation. Like, I think debt is such a burden on you that I think paying off of all that debt and prioritizing paying off that debt before anything is a form of paying yourself first and a wealth mindset that you can't have. So I would say yes, pay off your debts, especially well, it depends on the type of debt. Like if it's a mortgage, it's different. But if it is high interest debt like a credit card, yeah, pay that off first. And for your savings, so I would you should also make sure that you have your emergency savings fund when you're in the situation, because you still do need some savings so that if there's some emergency that happens, you're able to cover it. But yes, don't start investing. Pay off your debt first, and then start investing.
But there's all these trends, there's bitcoins, there's the cryptocurrency and stuff, and we want to get on it right away. Should we take money from our credit card to go do this, or
No.
or miss the train?
Yeah, no. Remember, use your credit card as something that is not free money. So no, do not do that. In my opinion, that's just my opinion.
Okay, that's good.
And
Good.
someone also asked about the minimum payment on a card, if they should only pay that. And no, you should pay all of the money on your credit card each month. There's actually Canadian banks are legally required to tell you how long it will take you to pay if you pay only the minimum payment. So if you go on your credit card statement and you go to the bottom, it's in very small print, but it will say, oh, you have a balance of $500, pay off, say, $10 is usually what they say. The minimum payment is $10. And then they will, but then in the small print, it will say, if you pay off the minimum payment, it will take you 8 years to pay off this debt, or something ridiculous like that. So yeah, everyone should yeah, don't pay only the minimum balance, pay everything off. It is not free money. It is debilitating debt, in my opinion.
It's not going to go away. So
no, it's not. It's going to compound 19%.
Yeah, which means even if you were just paying a little bit of money, you will not get very far.
No.
Somebody was asking, what does the minimum payment represent?
So the minimum payment is what the bank is, or the credit card is willing to accept from. Basically, credit card companies make money when people don't pay off their credit. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's their business model. When you don't pay your credit card, the credit card company makes money. So they hate people like me who have never ever gotten interest on my card because I pay it off every month. They're not making any money off me. They're basically giving me an interest-free loan. But if you pay the minimum balance every month, then whatever that other amount is, so say you have a bill of $100 and they're like, okay, pay off $10 this month. That $90, now they can charge you interest on that $90. And as I said, the interest is 20%. So it's like, it's compounding every single day. Every day they're adding another 20%. So even though it seems small and it seems like it's only 20%, is a lot of money. It can add up over the days. So yeah.
Yeah, this 20% interest that we're talking about. Can we talk to the banks and say this load is too heavy? If they can reduce it, if we can, what situations can we have that conversation and say, hey, 20% is a lot for me?
Yeah. So I think the industry average is 20%. But what you can do, if you are in the situation you have a lot of debt, what some companies will do is say, oh, if you transfer your debt to us, then we will charge you 5% for the first 5 months, and then yeah. So that's what that's like a tactic they do to get your debt to them instead. So if you have a lot of debt, maybe transfer it over to another card and pay it off aggressively at that lower interest rate. Yeah, it adds up very, very, very quickly, as somebody just said.
So I'm going to ask you a technical question then
Mm-hmm.
about the question that just came in, student loans. So we talked about the credit cards paying about 20% a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be advisable, of course, to pay that before you start investing, because while you're paying off the credit card debt, it's like you're reducing your liability, so which is also in turn an asset for you.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that were able to get student loans, lots of international students don't get student loans, but permanent residents do. Mm-hmm. And you accumulate this $40,000, $50,000 debts by the time you graduate. Now you got to work before you start paying it back, and before you know you're in the mortgage situation, now you got to pay that back, and it just really accumulates. Should we pay off the student loans first as well before we start thinking about investing, or should we just do the best that we can and keep moving on?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the interest rate that is coming with your student loan. So in any situation, you have to weigh how much you're going to get by investing versus how much you're going to get on average, what your interest rate is for whatever your the loan is. So for student loans, it depends. If your student loan is 2% each, if your interest rate is 2%, then and you can get 8% in the market, in the stock market, it may make more sense to put your money into the stock market. It's just, I think that would be the same as a mortgage. So with my mortgage, my interest rate is 2%. So it makes more sense for, instead of like aggressively paying down my mortgage, it makes more sense to just put my money in the stock market because my money can grow exponentially. So it depends, as I said, it depends on the interest rate that your student loan is. If you have, for some reason, a very high interest student loan, pay that off and then start investing.
Yeah, student loans interest rate, I don't believe they're going to be as high as credit cards. So
yeah, definitely.
That would just be unfair.
Yeah. And one other thing for people who have, I think if people have really high interest rate loans, try, if there is a way to consolidate it and move it over to another form of lower interest loan, then try and do that. Like if you have a line of credit and the interest rate is 6% versus the 19% on your credit card, that may be a good way to start paying it off more aggressively. But yeah, avoid credit. You need a credit card, but make sure you're using it correctly.
Yeah, you need it, but avoid it if you can. All right, so we're going to talk about a bill that seems insignificant, and we talked about credit scores and stuff like that. So I want to see if this affects us in any way, because it's not really linked to a credit card. A phone bill. You know, you get a phone. I know people get phones for $40 a month, $80 a month, whatever it is, and you end up not paying that bill. So 1 month you miss the payment, 2 months, 3 months. Does this affect us in any way in terms of our credit score?
Yeah, so phone bills in Canada actually do report to your credit bureau. I think it's one of the few bills that do report to your credit bureau, but it does. So if you don't have any credit score, your phone bill is actually one way that you can start like developing your credit score. But yes, you do need to pay your phone bill off every month. It does have an impact on your credit score, and a lot of people don't know that. Most people think, oh, like obviously the interest rate is not going to be very high if you do not pay off your your phone bill, which is why people don't really care. But it does have an impact because phone bills actually do phone companies do report to your credit bureau every month.
And that reduces obviously your credit score over time.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, how about, we've heard about this, collections. Oh, I'm going to take you to collections. What does that mean? When you don't pay off your bills, what happens?
So say I don't pay off my phone bill and the company has been trying to get me to pay it off for some time. And I think, oh, whatever, I'm not going to pay it. Who cares? What happens is that debt, the company basically sells the debt to a collections company. So that company is going to say, okay, we're going to buy this $500 bill that's outstanding. We're going to buy it off from you. And then, yeah, that's what they do. They buy it off from the company. So the company's happy. The phone company's happy because now they have their money. And now collections is after you, and collections is coming for their money. So they're saying, okay, I need to get all that money back plus whatever interest that, or whatever extra that you haven't, whatever interest that has accumulated on it. So they are also reporting to the credit bureau, and they like, I don't know, they are very aggressive. It'll impact your credit score. I can't remember what it's called. Is it called a delinquency if it's on your credit score, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's called a delinquency. And it's basically like you haven't paid this debt in X amount of months. And it's just a, like, how would I describe it? It's a very hard, like, it looks very bad on your credit score, and it impacts your credit score greatly. So yeah,
does this ever go away? Do you ever heal
yeah.
from this report? That
Yes,
report?
you do. So it takes 7 years, which is a long time. I think it's a very long time. So that delinquency is going to stay on your report for 7 whole years. So ideally, you don't want to send anything to collections.
Okay, how about those people that say, 70 years, I'm just going to write it out and wait 7 years, and I don't know, I'm just going to wait 7 years for the credit to heal. That's a long time to wait.
Yeah, I think that's a very long time to wait. You can do that if you want, but I think it'll impact you if within that 7 years you're trying to get another loan, it's going to impact you.
Of course, and you end up also paying for that because the interest rates you're going to be paying for any other loan would have made up for that amount of money anyway. So
Exactly.
it's a system here. The system works, and you can't really escape it.
Yeah. Unless you pay cash for everything, right? Unless you're rich enough.
And so people have that mindset, but the system here doesn't even support you using cash all the time, right? Some people don't even take cash. And I mean, it'd be weird to go buy a house cash, right?
If you have the money, right?
If you have the money, yes. But that would be heavy. Just not have, you won't be building a credit score. You're just paying everything cash because you think credit card is evil. You think credit is evil. So some people use credit to build wealth, right? But it really just depends on the individual. I'm just really trying to address that credit score because I know it got me there for about 5 years, right? And obviously my credit score is great now, but it took me many years. I think I had to buy a car and make car payments, and that helped to heal it a little bit. It was really weird. And speaking of, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing. If there's anyone listening who is struggling with their credit score, another thing that you can do if you do currently rent, you can have your landlord declare your payments to the credit bureau. So that way every time, because most people out of all their bills, they're going to pay their rent out of every bill that they have. So if you are someone who is paying your rent on a regular basis and you're paying it all the time, you can ask your landlord to declare it to their credit bureau, to the credit bureau, and then that can help you develop your credit or build it.
Yes. Speaking of cars, I had to buy a car to heal my credit at the time. But I wanted to talk about cars and Metro. If I know it's going to probably be the same comparison you did before, owning versus renting. But should we own a car, or when should we own a car, or when should we get the Metro? What are your thoughts on this?
I guess it depends where you live. So you're saying own versus use public transportation?
So public transportation versus owning a vehicle.
Yeah.
Advantages, disadvantages. Why should you? Why shouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, the winter here is one reason why you need a car. But it depends on where you live, of course. If you live in Toronto, you probably don't need a car because everything is so accessible by public transportation. No matter what time of day, you're gonna find a bus or subway that will take you somewhere. And you have to think of the cost of having a car in Toronto. So like the parking in Toronto, a parking spot can cost $60,000. It can cost $70,000. So, who is trying to pay that much money? So in that situation, it may not make sense to purchase a car. But if you live somewhere like Mississauga, though we have a decent transportation system, at nighttime, it's very hard to get around. Uber all the time. So I would say that in Mississauga, you probably do want to have a car. You're in the city.
Okay. So
it depends on
where you live and stuff like that. All right. So there's different ways people operate. There's people that save for the rainy day, and people that say YOLO, you only live once. Can you speak a little bit about what the difference is? Like, why should the people that do the YOLO lifestyle, they obviously having a good time. Is there a cost that comes with that long term?
Yeah, the cost would be like I love to live life, you know. I think it's great to enjoy life, but the only cost that comes with it is that if something suddenly does happen, then you're strapped for cash, and then you have to go into debt in order to survive. So I'd say live your life, but also maybe create multiple streams of income so that in case something randomly does happen, that you're covered. That's the and I speak about multiple streams of income a lot, but having all your eggs in one basket and only relying on your full-time job actually is a very dangerous place to be. It can be very costly, and like if you get in an accident, God forbid, or you lose your job, God forbid, then you have nothing. You really have nothing to fall back on. So in every situation, I think you should have at least an emergency fund and try to have at least more two sources of income so that if one fails, then you always have something to fall back on. But still live your life, you know?
Right. So tell us about this creating multiple streams of income. How do we do this? And how many do you recommend that we have?
Mm-hmm. So as I said, I recommend at least two. I personally am comfortable with having five, but it all depends on who you are. So the first source of income that most people have is earned income, and earned income is when you trade your time for money. So for example, I have my 9 to 5 job. I go to a job, and that's but if I don't, I work 30 or 40 hours a week, and they pay me for those 40 hours. That's what happens. In this case, you're trading your time for money. If you have a side hustle, same thing. You're trading your time for money. So this is what most people have. They think it's a great place to be, and of course, it's great to have this job. But the problem with it is that if something happens to you, as I said, then you no longer have any sources of income. So the second source of income that we have is profit income. And profit income is when you trade you buy something and you sell it at a higher cost. So that's one thing. I used to do that. I used to have an Amazon store. I would go to like warehouses and then resell things on Amazon. It's very profitable. It can be very, very profitable. But the problem is that the problem is that you what was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train.
Amazon and selling on Amazon.
Yes.
What's the issue with that?
So the only problem is it is also very labor intensive. It's very labor intensive. The
Okay.
next, and you also have to trade your time for money. Then there are five other sources of income, and those are all passive forms of income, which I think most people should try to have at least one active form and one passive form of income. And what I mean by active, you put a lot of time and effort into it. Passive, even if you're sleeping, you're still making money with your passive forms of income. So there's interest income, where you can either loan out your money and get interest based on that, or you can put your money in a high interest savings account and get a little some from that account.
Just something, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody was asking, we can address this really quickly. Talked about a house being an asset or a liability. In what scenario is a house an asset, and in what scenario is a house a liability?
So technically a house is a liability because if you don't own the house, then it's taking money out of your pocket, right? Because you're paying the mortgage every month. I think people think it's an asset, but technically like it is a liability if we think about it. However, to make it into an asset, I would say, like for me, my rent covers my mortgage every month. So I have no bills that are coming out every single month that are costing me money. So we can think of my house maybe an asset in that situation. But yeah, if you live in your house, renting out the basement, some real estate agents also, if you're renting out the house, real estate agents suggest putting a coin laundry in the house. There are lots of different things that you can do to start generating money from your house. Airbnb, like there are different ways, but yeah, just finding ways to make money from the existing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on your Instagram, I think a couple of months now, you were talking about goals of saving certain amounts of money at the end of the year, be it $20,000, $100,000, whatever the amount is. So I wanted people to just get a quick understanding of the strategy they need to implement to save, say, $20,000, for example. How do you get this done in 12 months?
Yeah, so I think it's actually very simple, and people just don't think about how easy it is. But you simply have to take whatever your goal is. So if your goal is $20,000, you simply break it down into bi-weekly payments, and then you say, from every single paycheck that I get, I'm going to put that money into my saving account or my investing account. And it's actually very simple. And I have the savings, you know, where you can use those to help you. But it's all, the thing is, I would line up the payments based on the days you get paid as well. So every time you get paid, you automatically just transfer it into your other account.
But when we see this money, we're not very motivated to transfer it into the savings block you're talking about. What is the easiest way to do this so that way we're not tempted to not save?
Yeah, I would say the easiest way is to automate it. So call your bank and say, okay, I get paid on the 15th and the 30th of every month. On those days, transfer $200 into my savings account. Simple. And then you never have to think about it. You never have the chance to actually miss the money because it's already gone from your
so you never even saw it anyways. You just wait.
Yeah, exactly.
So deduct that source then. Okay, awesome. So tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel. Why are you called Ready the Resource? Let's start there.
Well, my friends just started calling me Ready the Resource because I'm a resourceful person, and I bring tips about different things that I learned. So.
Okay, and what tips do you usually? What's your YouTube channel about? What do you usually share there for people?
So I talk about fashion, finance, career. There's a lot. It's basically a place that you can get resourceful information. You can get lots of information from me, and I like a how-to guide about adult. That's what I would say. Like there are lots of things that people need to know about being an adult, especially in Canada. So anything that I learn, I try to put it on my channel so that people can learn from it. But a lot of finance, I would say it's mostly finance tips and personal finance.
Personal finance, personal development. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any books that you can recommend to the audience today to help with savings and finances?
Yeah. So one really good book that I like is Smart Women Rich. Men can watch men can read it too, don't worry. But it's called Smart Women Finish Rich.
Okay.
By David. Yeah, that's a good one. And then we all know like Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was one of the first books I read. And my dad used to listen to that, like the audiobook all the time. So literally since I was a child, I've been hearing it. So that's a classic. Yeah.
One that I like is The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's not, I think it's like $6 or $7, something like that. The amount of savings that I was able to accomplish from reading that book, it's way more than what it costs. So I think reading is a good way to.
Mm-hmm. And there's also Think and Grow Rich, which I really like, by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. So Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, and Smart Women Finish First. You said.
Rich.
Finish Rich.
Yeah, and I have a whole list of books, so I'm gonna post it on my story after this. So.
Okay. All right. So people should tap on the Rennie's page there and give her a follow. She has lots of resources. I learned a lot from her page myself. So follow her on Instagram and YouTube, and you're gonna learn a lot. So Rennie, tell me, first house at the age of 23. What's next for you? What else are you trying to accomplish this season?
I'm trying to buy more houses, ideally. The market's going a little wild right now, so at the moment I'm not looking. But the goal would be to purchase more houses and have them pay for themselves, and like have this house that's already purchased pay for itself as well. So or pay for the future houses. So right now, most people who follow me know that I bought my house for $340,000, and this year it's sold for, or not sold, but a house that is on the street sold for $550,000, and it's the exact same house. It's just a year. It's just been a year since we closed on the house, so I now have $200,000 in equity in my property. I can take that money out and buy another house. So that would be the goal, just to continue buying more and having them pay for the next one.
That's really, how many houses would you like to own by the time you get to 30?
Probably 3. We'll see.
3?
Yeah.
It's already paying for itself. That's pretty good. I wish you good luck with the investments, and I hope you even get more than 3 houses even. So that's pretty good. Congratulations on that. So Rennie, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us about some of the tips you learned along the way. Thank you for being a resource. to us, reading the resource. That's pretty cool. Do you have any final words for our audience today before we let you go?
I just wanted to say thank you, Bess, for having me on the on your platform. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. And for everyone who's listening, I hope that you will start your journey to saving money and investing your money. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or watch my YouTube channel, and I can answer any of your questions for you.
Thank you. Reading the resource. Thank you so much. And I'll
Thank you.
speak to you soon. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you had a great time. This video will be saved on IGTV and also on our YouTube channel as well. So share with a friend, share with a neighbor, because wealth education is very important when we immigrate to this great country. We need to know how to manage money. We need to understand money, and we need to not be afraid of money. My name is Bester Godfrey, Canadian Immigration Specialist at Tufino Immigration Consulting. We help make Canada your new home. If you have any questions, contact us. Contact information is in the link in our bio. Like, follow, subscribe, and thank you. Good night and God bless.